it's a different, it's a bit a different approach. My topic is going towards the environmental studies. At the same time, I'm researching the hydroelectric plant and the building of it during 1953, the Stalin era in Kaunas in Lithuania, where actually my grandfather built it, and so it's also a part of my personal history. But now let's move to the imaginary archive. The project, the research that I started 2016, let's say. So researching labor memory and imagination in post-Soviet Lithuania. So I said that it's gonna be a performative lecture, which is I lied. So actually I changed my mind because yeah, I just recently did some performances related to the topic and to my research, and sort of felt tired a bit of it, and kind of wanting to kind of find another way of already continuing it. So so more or less I will present you my research from this like very biographical perspective, at the same time also a bit more like a bit more academic way to do it. So in 2016, while working on my MA thesis in Vytautas Magnus University, I started collecting interviews with women workers, and from different generations. I spoke with women from textile factories, food production, service sector. And at that time, I kind of grounded my research on Foucault's an idea of neoliberal subject and Carol Pateman's theory of the patriarchal contract.
Sorry, can you a little bit louder?
Sorry,
Just
yes.
a little bit, because I try to read from your lips.
Sorry, yes, okay. Uh, yes, so first I used Michel Foucault's and Carol Pateman's theories to kind of explore how the seemingly neutral, freely contracting economic civil subject is immersed in gendered and class power relations. And in order to kind of define the feminization process, I used the definition of patriarchal contract. And one of the examples is the marriage contract for women. So based on Pateman's theory, the marriage is kind of marriage contract comes from slavery contract, even historically. So for me, it was interesting to kind of link those analyses together, and kind of analysis of neoliberal those individual freedom is grounded on others' restricted rights, and Pateman's marriage contract, which is based on the slavery contract. And so I merged it and kind of tried to kind of do a materialist analysis of gender exploitation, which is explained by kind of devaluation of women's reproductive work. And looking at those analysis, actually, I applied it towards the politics of transition during the 90s, what was happening in the 90s in terms of labor, workers' rights, and also reproductive labor and women's stories. I kind of came up with this idea that it's not my original idea. There are there are many theoreticians who do that as well, but it was a kind of acceptable idea that women should go back to their homes, to back to from all this work, because the kind of all the work in the industry was very much devalued, and people were losing their jobs. Therefore, kind of saying that like it's okay that women would go back to the homes, to this very traditional reproductive labor, because of this collapse of industrial industry, like of the whole Soviet industry that we had. So like basically one by one the factories were closing and going bankrupt. And for me it was also very interesting, this analysis of let's say light industry, what the Soviets called light industry. And this is also very much connected towards like how women's labor is devalued because of they called, for example, textile industry or textile factories as a light industry. But in terms of like labor and in terms of how intense it is and how poisonous and the whole labor conditions, it's at all not light. So for me it was also this connection very interesting. And I kind of in parallel to my collecting the interviews, I also had this activist experience, and not that much at this moment, but so my research was also shaped through activism. And in 2016, I took part in protests against the new labor code. So for me, everything is related to labor, and so new labor code in Lithuania was also related to kind of liberalizing it and including, for example, these articles such as 0 hours contracts. And so we decided that as a collective, actually, in Kaunas, we decided to occupy the stairs of the government. And we sort of we were camping there for a week or two here is the the kind of photo of camping site by the doors of the main government building. And it was actually an experience that kind of shaped my further kind of activist activities and also work, because I also participated in establishing such a entities, I don't know, like social center Emma in Kaunas, GPB in this life is too expensive is in English. That's the slogan that we also were using for the protests. And sorry, I will. Sorry, it's annoying. And also the May 1st labor union, which was established later after the protests. So all those names, like Social Center Emma, for example, because Emma Goldman was actually from Kaunas, and she is this very famous anarchist thinker. We know her from United States, but actually she was born in Kaunas. And no memory, no monument or anything is actually there in the city. So we decided that we're gonna call the social center in Emma's name. And then also this May 1st labor union is also kind of a first labor union that is for precarious workers. So it includes all the workers, like platform workers, as well as students, freelancers, and there is a branch of art workers as well. So all this is kind of, all these names are also dedicated to this sort of trying to decolonize the actual left in Lithuania and the idea of what is left, because in our country, or I don't know, in Baltics probably in general, there is still a sin to be on that side, on the left, and what it means. This concept is kind of in many people's minds still very much connected to the Soviet Union, and and uh, and after the war started in Ukraine, is now it's much more even also connected to the Russia. So basically, you're also Russian agents. So you kind of you kind of always in this, when you're on the left, you're always in between the Soros agents or Putin's agents. So you have to this spectrum is quite interesting on one side or the other. So after this, this is, you see the social center Emma, and also the protest of the May 1st union together, supporting the Turkish builders, construction workers of the main stadium in Kaunas, who were not paid. So after this kind of period of very intense activism, I kind of continued my academic journey, you can say, to Central European University. Another interesting, so I am Soros agent, no? Studying gender studies in Budapest. It was the last year when the CEU was in Budapest, and then it had to move to Vienna now. And so in CEU, I kind of deepened my research on kind of Soviet labor structures and gender politics, especially focusing on the complexities of women's participation in the labor market and the structures of the regime, such as women's councils and labor unions. And at the university, I was kind of exposed to the colonial and non-linear historical approaches. So I started to think what it means to kind of have these interviews and to interview people and to talk to them, and what these stories actually contain, and how I'm supposed to interact with it, because it's kind of also, I was moving away from this very classical, of course, feminist thinking, like in a way that it is men against women, and it's what beyond, it's much more, and it's about relations. So the kind of the like social reproduction theory was my kind of sort of basis for that, where I realized that, like, okay, capitalism doesn't exist only within the walls of like workplace, or it goes far beyond and everywhere, and it's like very aggressive. So I and also what I realized at the moment when I was in CU, that like I am not a very like this classical academician, where it's like I continue because my background is actually in painting. So basically I started from painting, and then I decided that I don't want to have anything in common with arts especially the art scene. I was kind of disappointed and went into political studies. So this was my path towards this idea of what is imaginary archive. And yeah, and my thesis in the CU was called Multiplied Burdens or Honorable Duty, Women's Councils in Soviet Lithuania, 1985-88. So yes, and further in, I had this kind of idea that I'm gonna shape these interviews as an open dialogue, because there is a huge problem, I would think globally as well, but in Lithuania, that like we don't actually we're not in dialogue with this older generation, and it's very hard to reach them, and how we talk with them, what is the way to actually kind of navigate these differences that we are now, like, or either they're fake or are they fake, or how we think. And I sort of went deeper into this kind of Ariela Azulai's concept of potential history, of how we should interact with like what is documented, and also Claire Hemming's idea of this imaginary archive. So basically, in her name, I I called my project as Imaginary Archive. And so I prefer to view my research as part of this potential history, as articulated by Ariela A. Azulai, challenging the discipline of history's boundaries and its commitment to an imperial neutral temporality. And Azulai argues that history, as it's traditionally written and institutionalized, is deeply tied to imperial violence, meaning the way history is documented tends to legitimize colonial conquest, slavery, and domination. So instead of seeing the past as something finished and neatly packaged into facts or narratives, Azulai introduces potential history as a method of engaging with the past differently. So, and then in terms of Claire Hemmings, she developed a kind of a methodology known as the Imaginary Archive, and this methodology establishes a relationship with historical figures and their political sentiments based on the researcher's own political passions and contemporary political questions. So I kind of try to also, even though when I'm doing the interviews with the women workers, I'm not really like trying to oppose them. I'm just letting them to speak and try to tell their story. But when the interview is finished and I have this material, I will always think or do something with it, in terms of not to offend the speaker that I spoke with, but to kind of rethink of how at the end it can be open-ended. So how can it open these contemporary questions, and what it means to be, you know, nostalgic towards the Soviet Union, or what it means to be tired of today's insecurities, you know. So all this I tried to question, and one of the projects that I did also was a book publication. It was called Before and After, where I went to this Curonian spit called Neringa now, and it was at Nida Art Colony, and I spoke. It was actually during the COVID, and I had to do the interviews and about the resort. It's a resort area now, and it's very small. So I had to deal also with these very ethical questions, because it's like it's really small. When I realized that it's small, it's like talking with 7 already women, and I noticed that they know each other very well, and they basically, so if I expose it to the publication, there's gonna be trouble, because they know each other, and they're gonna recognize each other. So I tried to. I don't know if I succeeded, but actually, this is the publication where I also include my own personal biographical pictures. And the thing is that I made it as a whole narrative, like in one. And I had a lot of discussions with other academics and people. It's like, how should I navigate this through? Because you have this stories that are personal stories, but how to make it, a narrative that would be a micro narrative, but at the same time would tell the story in its own way, but not how you shouldn't, like, what is the way to, it's like, okay, you change the names, but still, you see these stories, because I still wanted to present it to the people there, and to kind of have this conversation with those women, and also with the people who live there, about the changes the region actually experienced through the time in the 90s, what it meant to kind of serve the German tourists, and but at the same time, not to kind of make it this kind of a gossiping, conflicting area. So for me, I chose the one way. I don't know. I don't think it was a very good way. It was maybe a mistake, but yeah, it's another story. Also, I made a sound installation, which was called Women's Voices: Stories from Kaunas Textile Industry, collaborating with the sound artist Agnė Bagdz, and we made it into this installation in the Kaunas Pictures Gallery. So it's also always, I want to do it very local, and I prefer, like, to do local, and to make it in dialogue with those women who I interviewed. So basically, they always come, and I also had a conversation with the women in Nida, who came to the presentation of the publication. So it's always this kind of a process and open dialogue that I stated. So it's not only like empty words. I tried to kind of stick to this ethics. And there's always, I don't think they always happy about what comes out from the stories they tell. And we have also this exchange that not necessarily is very warm, or it's also about disagreeing. So it's not that smooth. But what I found in the interviews is so sort of allowing free storytelling revealed how women's memories expand beyond official historical versions, of course, and they blend personal emotions with broader political changes. Sometimes unconsciously, imagination become crucial, and it lets us to reclaim these silence experiences and understand history not as a frozen past, but as something alive, emotional, and still shaping our present. So you must live honestly. Well, yes. And what you have, share it. To tell the truth, if I have a lot, I share it. I try to share my fears. I had so many of them. I tried to share them by keeping silent. I thought everyone would understand why I was silent. I learned to do that because of those times. But by then, I had already learned from her not to waste words. I saw my father doing the same, and now I think maybe it wasn't only because he was a man. So there was this cousin in my family. Let's say he got cancer. He was divorced from his wife, lived in Ukmergė, divorced. But they both drank a lot. Then they separated completely. And then the things got very bad. But later he got better. The cancer turned out not to be so terrible afterwards. You see, I would go where I saw help was needed. So you understand, I would show up where I saw someone needed help, and the person would change. You have to think of others, not yourself, like it used to be. Help others. I keep comparing, thinking, did people used to help each other more in the past? I think about empathy, though I don't know if one should even think about empathy when you want to help others. No one needs empathy. They need help. They need connection. They need a crack to reach through. That's what this is about, helping others. I never eat the tastiest bite. I give it away. That's just who I am. I eat what's left. Believe me, I don't choose the prettier piece. I can eat anything. Whatever is left, it will do for me. My God, that's how you live. And then it's very peaceful. And then you don't know where your luck comes from. And others envy you, saying, how have you managed to keep working all these years? Well, I work. I don't know. It's very important to emphasize the words don't know. I miss it sometimes. I think I'll emphasize it this time, but not because I'm upset about not knowing something. Maybe it's a midlife crisis, or I've merged with the global crisis, and there is no boundary anymore. Especially Trump helped me understand that it's not necessary to know, but knowing isn't essential. And then the conversation turns to Soviet times. Once some people came from somewhere. They asked me, so what bad things can you say about that time? And me? Nothing. What bad can I say about that time? I can say that now I know even less what to say about the fact that we are building fences and walls, that we've withdrawn from the anti-personal mind ban convention, that former neo-Nazi is the chairman of the Conservative Party, that Israel's minister says he won the war, that Putin will never be arrested, that almost all of Europe is now ruled by the radical right. What can I say about the fact that my parents refused psychotherapy, that the N-word is still widely used in my parents' generation vocabulary, that living a good life still means a man, a woman, and 2 children, that I don't have children, that I'm afraid to cross the overpass in Kaunas at night that leads home, that fears multiply in the dark. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I brought some candy.
Yeah, I wanted to ask.
So this is the classical, actually from Soviet time candies.
Yeah. We have time for one question if you want to just, or you can go. I mean, you can just go. Yeah. Yes.
if somebody else wants, because of course Boris complained that I all the time ask something, but I really want the atmosphere of dialogue, yeah? So I really want to say thanks. Thanks for the, I try to hear you and I hear you. But one of the things that I really like is that you put the issue about the labor rights and particularly for the women. And please, I really like and support you to you do invisible archive to be really visible with these stories, yeah? Because you can use different method in digital world and to make digital archive, because one of the stuff that I think it really we cannot hear this story. Nobody will tell this story what you collect now. But I'm curious when you mention this transgenerational gap. What is your experience and about which generation you talk?
So basically, I'm talking about people who grew up during the Soviet time and worked during the Soviet time, and now they have to kind of adopt, or like through the 90s, they had to adopt the new system. And for them, that's the generation I mostly talk that is mostly problematic in the way that
Our parents, for example, huh?
yeah,
60, 70 years.
yes,
Okay.
yes, even like 55, you can
No,
say.
come on, this is us.
No, but but that's yeah.
Don't die now.
But mainly, yes, 60, 70 is that generation that kind of always seems struggling to see what is good now, like what I'm getting from this, and this is the. Sorry, I forgot to show the my my way of yeah. This is the performances I did. Talking about yeah, this dialogue. Yeah, sorry, I missed all that.
Maybe I just have one quick question, and then we have a break. It was really interesting when you said how hard it is to approach these topics in post-Soviet context with labor and socialist ideas. And it was really interesting because I was in Prague during their elections a few weeks ago, and it was a similar topic of who to vote for. Are they pro-Russians? Are the left parties pro-Russian? So then I was thinking of how hard it is in these post-Soviet countries to talk about these topics, and also politically how to kind of how to have options on the left because of that. So this was really interesting, and I wanted to know how, if you could a little bit expand about this, also in terms of your practice and how it is perceived and what the feedback is, because you deal with these topics, and yeah.
Yeah, so basically labor rights, or like workers' rights, or like working class is a sort of forbidden, not forbidden, but like not very interesting term to delve into. And so when you start talking about it, it is hard, and at the same time, you know, when they saying it's like, oh my God, why you're like calling yourself May 1st labor union? It's crazy, you know, it's May 1st, it's a Soviet celebration, but it's not Soviet celebration. It's so all this kind of when you're trying to tell a story and again prove that you're not an elephant. It is well, it is a kind of exercise in a way, and I think it's still worth to tell, because you see a little bit of progress there, especially like in younger generation when they go to the abroad to see that other left still exists, you know, and all kinds of left people exist. So they come back, and then you see a little bit more and more support of these kind of ideas and trying to.
Option that there's like in the future that it goes into that direction more, or
Well, from today's context, I was like, I don't know. No, yeah, let's see. But the future from my perspective is quite dark.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe we can return to that then in our discussion. But now we have a short break.